you know you've blown your nose too much when like the inside, like even to touch it. I was washing my face today and I was like, that didn't feel good. Turn the volume up in my headset a little bit.
From VentureX Studios, it's JP, Kathy, and the crew.
The crew. Are we on? Okay, good. Well, I'm echoing the crew. Good morning to you, and welcome to JP, Kathy, and the crew. Super excited to have you with us today, and all the days you tune in. We love that. Thank you. We've got Lathan Watts, who has his own podcast now on our network, which we'll be talking about that a little bit later. Lathan is also with First Liberty, which he'll have his First Liberty hat on for a short time this morning, and then he takes it off.
Exactly.
Just disclaimer, full disclaimer. So, and we also have one of our former Miss Texas, one of our forever Miss Texas winners, who will be on the show today. And then I think we're going to have either Chuck or Andrew or both of them from Kilroy's Conversation. I've got a new baseball cap. It's Carry the Load. Was able to participate. Yeah, I just was able to participate for a while Sunday in the Carry the Load festivities and honor the way they honor our military and those we've lost. Amazing, just amazing. I will forever be a part of that from now on. Just God bless those who served. God bless those who are still keeping their memory alive. I think I cried 5 times on Sunday. You know, and you're like, oh, shocking. Kathy being emotional.
Must be a day that ends in Y.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, anyways, glad you're with us. Lathan, let's go ahead. First Liberty hat on. Okay. Let's talk about some of
Eventually, I'm just going to bring an actual First Liberty hat.
That would be hilarious.
So I can just literally take it off and go, okay. And now, the
that
world
would be the
according
funniest.
to Watts.
That would be the funniest thing in the world. I double dog dare you to do that.
All right.
All right. So what? Because I know now it's we've got college and high school graduations going on. You're hearing about valedictorian speeches. This is not new. This is every year. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, 'tis the season, so they say around the office. May and June, we can. It's almost like clockwork. We can expect some valedictorian or some student speaker at a high school graduation ceremony is going to get in contact with us because some either well-meaning, misinformed high school principal or superintendent. Sometimes it's a principal or superintendent who's got their own agenda, but most of the time it's a well-meaning high school official who doesn't really understand what the law is, tells some valedictorian that he or she cannot mention their faith in their graduation speech.
And we're not just talking Christianity. And again, what I love about First Liberty is you guys fight for all religions.
Absolutely.
So
any faith anywhere in America, as long as that person's just trying to live according to what they believe in a way that's keeping with the law and the Constitution, we will protect your right to do so. And so we had a couple of wins last week. Both of them happened to be in Michigan, where 2 high school graduation speakers were each told, no, you can't mention God, you can't mention your personal faith in your speech at graduation. And this comes from, like I said, a lot of times it's a misunderstanding. The school thinks that because they're a public school and it's a ceremony that the school is putting on, that somehow allowing a student to mention God or mention their religious beliefs in their speech puts the school in danger of violating the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, and it simply just does not.
And it explained, for those who are maybe new to the crew, let's talk about the Establishment Clause. Okay. Because this is important in so many cases.
The very first words in the very first amendment in the Bill of Rights say, Congress will make no law respecting the establishment of a religion. The next clause, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, we typically refer to that as the Free Exercise Clause. So the Establishment Clause was written so that there would not be an official church of the United States, just like England had the Church of England.
It's what we broke away from.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They did not want there to be an official Church of the United States of America. Now, the Constitution was written, as you know, to restrict the federal government, and the Bill of Rights even initially did not apply to the states.
Right.
12 of the 13 states at the time they adopted the Constitution did have official state religions.
Right.
Some of them had a religious test for office, which is also prohibited by the U.S. Constitution for
Yes.
federal office in Article 6. But at the time, the intent of the Establishment Clause is that there is no official state church. Okay, you're not going to ever be taxed to support a church. You're not ever going to be compelled to go to church, to the official state or any church.
You won't
for
be.
that
Yeah,
matter.
you're not going to be forced. Yeah, you're not forced to practice a religion at all.
Right.
Hence the reason you have agnostic and atheists and
Yeah,
things
exactly.
of that nature. Yeah.
It was never intended as some blanket prohibition on the role of faith in public life. And that's what it has sort of devolved into over time.
Right.
It's actually pretty simple. There's not going to be an official church in the United States of America. That's pretty much it. It takes lawyers and judges to complicate something that simple.
I'm like, okay, that seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah. So over time, lawyers and judges
But I
have
digress.
complicated it, right? And but that's a big part of the work that we do at First Liberty. When there's a misunderstanding on this sort of thing, we represented both of these high school students, and we sent a letter to both schools explaining that speech is the student's speech. He or she is not speaking on behalf of the school district.
Right.
Therefore, it's not government speech.
It's
and
that
therefore,
individual's,
it is no
yes.
endorsement by that government, the school district, of
Right.
any sort of religion.
Right.
It's the student's speech. And if they're truly that worried about it, that somebody in the audience is going to think the school has officially established Christianity or whatever the faith that speaker is
Right.
mentioning as the official religion of that school district, it's a really simple fix. You put a one-sentence disclaimer on the graduation program that just says all the thoughts and comments expressed
yeah.
by the speakers are the speakers and do not necessarily reflect that of the school district. Bingo.
Simple.
Done deal.
Yeah.
Right? That's all you have to do.
Right.
If you're really that worried about it. You really don't even have to do that.
You don't have
the
to.
The law is that speech is the student's speech.
Exactly. But I think because, especially, unfortunately, today, we run in a very paranoid society.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to everything, pretty much. So if you, as the superintendent of that school district, or if the school board, or whatever the case may be, the principals of those high schools, then just have that as part of the program from now on.
Right.
You're already covered. This way, you're double covered.
Yeah, exactly. Or whoever is the MC of the ceremony can just simply say it when they get up.
There you go.
To open the graduation ceremony. It's no big
Right.
deal. It's really not. It shouldn't be a problem. You're right. We're in a very litigious society, and the Establishment Clause,
Yes, we are.
body of law, is the only area of the law where we allow offended observers to have standing to bring lawsuits.
We're hashtagging that, offended observers.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
And we do.
and it's the only area of the law where we allow that. Every other area of the law, in civil law, you have to be able to demonstrate some sort of harm to have standing to bring the litigation. But when it comes to the Establishment Clause, all you got to do is be offended by the presence of something, and you can go to court and try to have it removed.
Well, and look how many millions upon millions upon millions upon billions of dollars and hours have been spent just defending the Establishment Clause. And again, it's because somebody's driving by and they're like, oh, I think that bothers me today.
Exactly. I mean, I
This
always...
statue's only been here 50 years, but today it bothers me.
Right. I mean, that was
Okay.
the big Supreme Court case that we won 2 years ago,
Yeah.
the Bladensburg World War I Memorial, which
Yep.
is nearly 100 years old and had been there nearly 100 years
Yeah.
not bothering anybody until
And
a couple
all
of
of a sudden it did.
folks from the Humanist Association decided it bothered them and
Yep.
filed a lawsuit to tear it down.
And look what happened as a result of that. How much
Yeah,
time,
it took-
money.
It took years, and
Yeah.
we finally got to the Supreme Court. And thankfully, the Supreme Court said not only does the Bladensburg World War I Memorial not violate the Establishment Clause, but this whole notion that we have used to analyze these types of cases
Right.
for 30 to 40 years, we're going to get
Right.
rid of that too, and kind of go back to the original intent of the First Amendment. And from now on, if a monument or a symbol or a practice is in keeping with the history and tradition of this
Yep.
country, it's presumed constitutional.
Yeah.
And in that opinion, Justice Thomas wrote a concurrence, and I think it was Alito joined it, There were two names on it. It was
Right.
Thomas's. I forget the second justice that joined him in it. But Thomas pointed out in his concurrence, he said, while we're at it, and I'm glad we got rid of this old case, this Lemon versus Kurtzman test. I'm glad we're replacing that. But we should have also gotten rid of offended observer status as standing for bringing these lawsuits. And he points out, this is the only area of the law that we allow this, and we shouldn't.
And why do we? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he said, this case specifically should have been dismissed for lack of standing.
Yeah.
The Humanist Association should not even have been allowed into court to challenge this because they're not harmed by the presence of a monument.
And that's, and I think that's kind of a bigger part. And let us know when we have Madison in the waiting room, because Lathan and I could talk about this literally for 5 hours every day. Again, those are the things that get people fired up, because I woke up today and I read this, and so I'm going to be mad about this today.
Right.
This is what I'm going to choose to be offended about today. And it seems like it's so easy to take that and then get some credibility, I guess. So like even being in front of the Supreme Court for a case like this gives the angry, upset, I'm offended by everything, folks, credibility and a leg to stand on. When you're right, in other areas of the law, you can't do that.
No, exactly. I mean, I always, when I talk about this case, and I'm going to be speaking next week at the Flower Mound GOP Club.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll talk about this case.
Yeah.
Because it's the biggest case on the Establishment Clause in probably 30 to 40 years. But I always say, think of it this way. Like, I live in the Metroplex. If I drive around certain areas of Dallas, within 15 minutes, I can probably see half a dozen billboards that I find fairly offensive.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh.
Nobody would allow me. They would laugh me out of the courtroom if I walked in and tried to file a lawsuit to say that billboard's got to come down because I don't like it.
Yeah, I have to drive by it 5 days a week, and it upsets me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and we'll come back to this because this, I find this fascinating. But in the meantime, we have got Madison on with us. There she is.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are y'all?
It's great to see you. it's been a while. We had you on the radio station, and you've been a little busy in the meantime. And first of all, let's go ahead and introduce yourself. And and of course, I think I see either an engagement picture or a wedding picture in the background. So I definitely have to talk about your wedding. You looked gorgeous, and you had to do it during a pandemic. So I want to hear all of course, the personal stuff. But you look beautiful. Let's talk about when you served as Miss Texas, and then go from there.
Yeah, so last time y'all saw me, I was Miss Texas back in 2018, and we know a lot has happened since then. I did get married. That's my husband you see back there in that picture. So I was a COVID bride, which was so much fun. But yeah, just resuming normal life now. We live in Tyler, so we're in East Texas and loving every minute of it.
I love it. So, okay, so talk to me, because the last time we saw you, obviously you were Miss Texas. You were engaged, or you got engaged at the end of your reign as Miss Texas. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
that's right.
I think I came to y'all in the spring, and then Miss Texas happens over the summer, and we got engaged that fall.
That's right. And then, and you're a teacher.
I am. So I teach kindergarten. I'm going into my 4th year now. So I taught for a year prior to winning Miss Texas. And then as soon as my reign was over, headed back to the classroom and love every minute of it.
Well, and I love seeing, of course, I follow you on social media, and we want to talk about how people can follow you and what you're involved in now, besides being a newlywed. But I always love, like, the pictures of, like, there was a picture of you with all your kids hugging you at the end of the school year. I thought that was so sweet. I just love that so much. So talk to me about teaching. Well, first of all, a couple of things during a pandemic. I want to know, because at first y'all were planning a big wedding, kind of what your traditional wedding that most people, well, I don't even, I'm so old. Probably shouldn't even say that. You were planning a traditional wedding, the normal big wedding with people, tons of folks and all that kind of good stuff. So how did the pandemic change that? And then also, because we talk about this a lot, especially we've got an education show, Ask Dr. Be Good. Actually, your sister was on her show the other day. So we've been talking about education in the pandemic. So talk to me about being a bride and getting married during the pandemic, as well as being a teacher of very young children during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. hmm I mean, being a bride, the best word I can describe is unconventional.
Yeah.
When we got engaged, we had no idea what was coming our way. We, were planning this wedding and invited 500 people to it, and always knew we wanted to have a big wedding. Had been waiting for that moment for so long. After competing for 4 years, I met Drew early on in my pageant career, so he waited patiently while I pursued that dream and was so sweet and loving throughout all of that. So it had been a long time coming, and we were so excited. And then everything happened, and it was one of those situations where I was grateful for everything that I learned while being Miss Texas, because if you learned anything, it is to be adaptable and flexible. Yes. And just roll with the punches. So I applied those skills throughout that, and we ended up still getting married on our actual date, which we just celebrated our first anniversary, which was May 30th. So we had a very intimate, small wedding, and like I said, not what we planned at all, but it was actually so sweet and everything that I never knew I would actually want in a wedding. And then later in the summer of last year, we had our actual wedding where we were able to celebrate with our friends and family, and still have that day, but like I said, in a little bit of an unconventional way. Teaching in the pandemic, I mean, my 5-year-olds, I will sing their praises all day long because they handled it like champs. And I think because they did, that made my job a lot easier. This was by far the hardest year that I've ever had as a teacher. Add the pandemic on top of that, and it just made for a very fun mixture there. But like I said, they were such good sports about it. They wore their masks. They, had as good of a year as they possibly could. We took out a lot of those fun names that we normally do in kindergarten. So trying to adjust and make sure that they still had a great experience was a challenge, but I feel like we accomplished it, and I'm super proud of them and what they achieved this year.
And I love that. I love hearing that, young kids, I think when they're younger like that, and you don't have all the experience. Like our experience of school is it's set in stone, is how, how like Lathan and I, how it was when we went to school, when you went to school, it was different, So I think if you're younger, and especially and I noticed a lot, I used to teach high school, and some of my former students are teachers, and the ones who teach the little bitty ones, they said they made it like an adventure. And so the kids just every day, were excited. Now, did you do remote learning or in person, or did y'all have a combination thereof? How did y'all do that?
Yeah, it was a combination for us, which was also challenging. So while I was teaching I started the year 16. While I was teaching those 16 in person, I also had online learners. So my course load and my workload there kind of doubled. But we were able to make it through, and that was a challenge that I set for myself, because they don't know any different. Their first year of true school as kindergartners, it was important to me that I made sure, despite all the precautions, all the guidelines, that I did everything I could to make it as normal and as fun and as memorable as I could, because that's the only kindergarten experience they were going to get, and it wasn't their fault that they were coming in at such a weird and funky time. So I set that challenge for myself to make sure that, while we were following all those protocols and all of those precautions, that we still enjoyed kindergarten and made learning fun.
Well, I love that, especially because so many kids, if they don't go to some type of preschool or Mother's Day out, or, oh gosh, that's probably like an outdated term now, I don't know. If they haven't gone to some type of preschool or pre-K, even if it's just a couple of days a week or 3 days a week or 2 hours a day, then kindergarten is their first educational experience. And I don't think people realize what a tremendous, I think after the pandemic, everybody realizes what a tremendous asset teachers are to our society. But I don't know that people sit there and think, wow, it is the job of a kindergarten teacher, not only obviously to meet your criteria and teach the subject matter and have them hit certain I don't know what the term is I'm looking for, certain things throughout the year, but you're setting them up for either success or failure in their whole educational career. I remember, I think back very fondly on kindergarten and my teacher. And I remember, my brother, like he cried when he had to leave kindergarten. Okay, Kelly's going to be really mad that I said that. But he just loved his kindergarten teacher so much that he couldn't imagine having anybody else as a teacher, even though, he had a great first grade teacher. But still, it's one of those things that really can stick with you and set a kid off on the right foot or not. So So do you feel any pressure, Madison?
I mean, you set that tone for sure. So it's up to you to set a positive or a negative tone. I hope that I'm someone that set that positive tone. That's the other side of teaching that nobody prepares you for. These, I mean, 21 5-year-olds, they became my people. I'm with them when I'm with my family, and they really do. They become your people. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you've gotten close and formed those bonds, like, okay, they're on to their next thing. And so that's a hard thing to, grow so close to them and invest in them and love them. And then you have to let go of them. And it's hard, but it's part of the job. And, each group has a special place in my heart, but this group specifically, just with everything that we've been through this year, they're my people.
They're your folks. Well, let's talk. Are you still involved in the pageant world? Are you still doing any work with the Miss Texas Scholarship or anything like that? What else? I mean, besides being a newlywed, besides being a teacher during the pandemic, so what else are you doing, Madison?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's kind of been, again, an unconventional year when it comes to Miss Texas. I didn't return last year because there wasn't a pageant to return to.
Right.
So it's been kind of crazy, what we've been through this past year. But I hope in the future, in the years down the road, I am able to volunteer more with the organization. I am so grateful for everything that it's done for me. And I think the big thing that sticks out to me are just the relationships that were formed with the people, the volunteers, the staff members, just everybody a part of that Miss Texas family. It truly is a family that I'm so grateful for. One thing that did kind of carry with me in this past year is because of Miss Texas and the scholarships that I won from DBU, I was able to complete my master's and just graduated this past May.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
I'm super grateful to the organization. It's completely debt-free, and that wouldn't have been possible without the Miss Texas organization and the scholarships that they provide. So it does carry with you way past ever wearing a crown. And it's just something that I'm super grateful for.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I don't think, and that's something we talk about, and we talked about that a lot with Chandler this year and our other Forever Miss Texas winners like yourself, is the, the impact of that scholarship money, the impact it has on your life. It literally, I mean, there's nobody is walking out of college debt free. I don't know of anyone, and so that's such a great opportunity. Talk about some of the other things in your everyday life now, in your career and everything, where Miss Texas and being part of that competition has made a difference.
I mean, the interview process prepares you for just about anything.
Yes.
So I'm switching schools this next year, and I called my mom right after my interview, and I was like, thank goodness for what Miss Texas taught me. I mean, if you can survive the Miss Texas interview, you can do anything. And really, I mean, the speaking skills and the ability to just talk with people, and things that you don't believe are that hard, but really the experiences that Miss Texas gave me have really prepared me for all facets of life. And I just feel really grateful for that, because it prepared me to, take that into my career and beyond. And since completing my year as Miss Texas, I've started a fashion and lifestyle blog.
Fantastic.
Kind of taken over as a new hobby for me now that I'm done with the pageant world and now a Forever Miss Texas. So it really just opens up so many doors in so many different ways.
Well, and how do people find your fashion blog? How do they follow you? How do they find that information?
So the blog is madisonpageblog.com. Instagram is my main avenue.
Okay.
It's kind of a hobby that I'm trying to take off a little bit more now, in addition to teaching, but it's so much fun, something I love to do, fashion and beauty and all of those things, home decor. Just a passion that I've found since hanging up my crown.
I love it. That's so great. Okay, you're going to be one of the, we've got the Miss Texas competition back on this year. So Miss Texas will be happening in, I think, May, the third week of May or something like that. Or no, 3rd of June. I'm sorry, 3rd week of June. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Finals are June 26th in Richardson.
That's it. Yes, because I know JP and I are going to be out there broadcasting from there at least one of the days. So we're real excited about that. So, okay, you're one of the last interviews that we'll be having before the new Miss Texas is crowned. Mm-hmm. an amazing, I was able to judge the spring workshop, the interview portion of the spring workshop.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like an impromptu speech. It was a news segment that they did. And let me tell you, I do not envy those judges. It's tough competition.
Right.
I mean, just so many amazing young ladies that just have such a heart for service for their state.
Right.
What advice would you give to them as they prepare in these last few weeks? And your sister is one of these young ladies as well. So what advice would you give your sister?
Right.
What advice would you give to these ladies who are getting ready to compete in June?
So I competed for 5 years. I was actually third runner-up 3 times, and then was first runner-up to Morgana Wood the year before I won, and then won on my 5th try. I don't think a whole lot changed about me personally. I grew over those 5 years. But it was the same Madison that showed up every year. And so I think my best advice is, you can be your absolute best self. If they're looking for an apple and you're an orange, that's okay. I think, you don't want to get lost in that experience. And so just be yourself. And if it's supposed to happen, if that's in God's plan and if that's in your path, it's going to happen and it's going to be amazing. But if it's not meant to be, it's not going to happen. And that's okay. And it may be later down the road. It may be never. But, what's meant to be will be.
Right.
And, have fun, enjoy it. But, there are so many beautiful aspects of life, and this is just one of them. And so, just be yourself and enjoy it, because if you're supposed to be Miss Texas, you're going to be Miss Texas on June 26th.
I love it.
There's great
Well
things
said.
ahead.
Very, very well said. Well, thank you so much, Madison, for coming back on. We've missed you, but it's been great following you on social media and seeing all the great things happening for you. And just God bless you, and we wish you nothing but the best and hope to see you again sometime.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks, Madison. Take care.
Y'all have a good one.
You too. All right. That was Madison Fuller Evans. Now we've got one year of marriage under her belt, so really excited. And that is great advice, because having met so many of these contestants and having had the Miss Texas ambassadors on our show, and then a couple of the young ladies, including Madison's sister, who wrote children's books during the pandemic, the judges have got a tough gig. And you're right, sometimes it's not meant to be, but the skills you learn and all that kind of stuff, can take you really far. So just very, very exciting. Well, let's talk. Okay, so so take your First Liberty hat off, because I want to talk about your show, which we're going to have your second one today. So the name of it, when can people see you?
Yeah.
Let's talk about this vision that you've brought to fruition.
Yeah, my vision, other people's nightmare. Who knows? So the show is called The Snarky Parenthetical.
Which when you get to know Lathan outside, I'm sorry, looking at Nathaniel over there. When you get to know Lathan outside of his First Liberty, you have no idea how appropriately named this show is.
Everybody that I told when I decided on the name, I had people, everybody that when I told them the name, they're like, "Oh, that's perfect." Or I had old friends that I told them, "Hey, I'm doing this thing," and I'd send them the link, and they're like, "Well, on the name alone, I'm going to listen."
I love it.
And it comes from, we talked about this on the first show. It comes from I'm lucky enough to get to do some writing in my day job, and the guy that is sort of my editor on stuff that I write, he mentioned to me one time, he's like, you sort of mastered the art of the snarky parenthetical. Of you state sort of what the other side's case is, or the fact, or whatever it is you're talking about, and then the next little phrase is going to be your take on it or whatever.
Yeah.
So when he told me that, it just sort of stuck in my head, and I liked the phonetics of it. It's fun. It's fun to say.
It is snarky parenthetical. Right? Oh, it's great.
So that just sort of stuck in my head for a little while, and then when y'all talked to me about doing a show, I was like, well, I think that would be a good name.
Yeah.
So that's where the name comes from. We record on Fridays, so it's a once a week. We shoot for about 30 minutes. We actually went a little long the first time because we sort of explained a lot about the show. But our goal is always to have about 30 minutes, so it's not a huge commitment of time for the listener or the watcher. Yep. It'll come out Friday evening, so it's kind of a good way to unwind on the way home after the work week. Start your weekend with something that will hopefully give you something to think about. Never our goal to tell you what to think. You're going to hear a lot about what I think.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
And hopefully make you laugh a little bit, or as we said on the first show, at least chuckle, maybe chortle. I don't think there's enough chortling in America.
We need more of that.
Yeah, that's going to be the first merchandise from the show is shirts that say "Make America Chortle
Yeah.
Again." Yeah,
I love it. Well, and everybody's
that's
so
what it is.
serious. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about your show, that, everybody's mad about vaccines, masks, the president, the election. People are still, any day you open up social media, I'm like, oh gosh, what's everybody going to be ticked off about today?
yeah.
And so to have a show where it just it's a way to escape. It takes you away from that. It's smart humor, which I love. We need more of that in the world.
I think so. I mean,
we really do.
We are going to talk about. I mean, because it's the end of the week, and so usually the first segment we'll kind of look back on news, maybe some political stuff.
Yep.
Because I mean, how can I not? It's just sort of what I've done
Yeah.
for many years.
I mean, you've been an elected official.
Yeah.
This has been part of your world. So,
Yeah. So we'll talk about some of that stuff, but not in this sort of life and death manner.
Yes.
I mean, there are some serious things, but I think they're worthy of having some fun poked at them as well. Because sometimes you got to laugh to keep them crying. So we'll do usually a segment just kind of covering some current events at the top of the show. Middle segment will probably be something a little lighter, music, movies, something in the entertainment world. And the last segment is just sort of where I untangle my own mind on the air. And
Right.
it's just whatever is bugging me, I'm going to talk about it. And I'm mildly irritated about it. Okay. I'm not mad, because to really be angry about it, I would have to care.
And you don't.
And I don't.
And let's just face it.
No, I don't. But I am a little bit irritated by some things. And I find it irritating that other people aren't irritated by it. And so I'm going to talk about those things in the third segment of the show.
I love that.
Hopefully it's you'll find it, like I said, humorous, entertaining. At the very least, it might make you feel better about yourself. Like you listen to this guy and go, well, I'm not that nuts.
Well, at least I don't think about almond milk. Okay, so I'm going to, and I need Nathaniel to put the camera over on you for this one, because this is just, can you talk about the whole almond milk and how that came to be and the whole discussion
the bit
on
that we did on almond milk.
I
yeah.
just, for some reason, that just cracks me up. And I think it started, I'm going to let you tell the story of where this conversation came from.
Yeah. So, the third segment in the show last week, and you can find it on YouTube. You search Snarky Parenthetical. It's on. The show has its own Facebook page. If you search, Snarky Parenthetical, you'll find it there, and you can zoom past whatever else you want if you want to watch this segment. Anyway, I was in the office getting coffee. Because that's sort of the tagline for the show is I'm highly caffeinated and mildly irritated. So I was getting coffee in the office, and I was looking for creamer and couldn't find any. And the only thing I could find was this stuff called almond milk. And I was telling Stan on the show, I was like, I couldn't bring myself to put it in my coffee because I don't know what this is.
You're like, what?
What is this substance? I know what it's not. It's not milk. Okay? It's not.
No.
And so I just sort of, it just sort of devolved from there. I just sort of kind of went on a rant about almond milk, about like, I don't know what this is. Like from a forensic scientific perspective, I know what form of matter it is. It is a liquid, but it is not milk.
But it's in the milk section.
Yeah, and how did the thousands of bureaucrats at the FDA miss this? Like they regulate every aspect of food, and these people got away with calling this milk without even like. There should at least be an asterisk, and then on the bottle at the bottom it says not milk, because it's not. And I was telling on the show, I was like, look, I like almonds. I've eaten probably thousands of them in my lifetime. I never saw one that had an udder on it. So, therefore, this is not almond milk. I don't know what it is, and this bothers me. So, as just an example of what you're in store
one of the
segment
things that
3 on the show, it could be anything as mundane as almond milk. I think today we're going to talk about a certain on-air sportscaster whose hair I find mildly irritating.
Oh, and I can't wait to hear this.
So,
I can't wait to hear this because I'm sitting here thinking, do I know who this sports figure is? I just might.
yeah, you probably would.
I just might.
And it's nothing personal against him. He just happened to be the guy who was on the screen while I was waiting to get my haircut. And I looked up and I saw this, and I just
You're like, wait a second.
yeah.
Well, and so people can tune in what time and how and where.
Right. So we should be posted by 5 p.m. on Fridays. That's what we shoot for. It kind of depends on how long it takes us to record and get everything done. But our goal is always, in that drive time hour at the end of the week, the audio will be up, Spotify, everywhere else all your other shows.
All the places, yep.
Are up. Video will be on YouTube. We'll also post it on the show's Facebook page, Snarky Parenthetical.
So people can follow you. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go do follow right now. Can they follow you on Facebook right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a page, the Snarky Parenthetical. You should be able to find it there. You can find. I'll always post it on my personal page as well.
Right.
There's not that many Lathan Watts out there, so you can find me on Facebook and Twitter and everywhere else. So you can subscribe. We've got a page on YouTube, Snarky Parenthetical. How many more times can I say the name of the show?
I know, I love it. Well, it's branding, so keep it up.
Yeah. So find us and subscribe. Keep listening, keep watching. You're welcome to post comments, suggest some topics you might want us to cover. I may or may not take your suggestion, but
right here it says stop calling it almond milk.
Yeah, it isn't.
Oh, that's just so great. I love it. I love it.
So yeah, we had fun with episode 1 and got some good feedbacks, and people seem to like it. So
this
looking
is
forward
so great
to going forward doing this thing on a weekly basis.
And the picture on your face, this is so funny. It's it just all fits together. I'm like the look on your face, the picture that you have up here. Yes, highly caffeinated, mildly irritated. And this is one of those things that you can catch it on your ride home. A lot of folks are still working from home.
Yeah.
So I would say catch it on your way to get your first glass of wine.
Absolutely.
This is definitely.
The more you drink, the funnier I am. I promise you.
I love it. I love it. That's so great. Well, we're just wishing you nothing but huge success with this. I get a chance to pop in studio and
you're going to be
chime
with me
in
today.
a little bit today, so that'll be fun. So, so listen for a whole lot of laughter and just and again, there with all of the and obviously you come on our show as as this expert when it comes to freedom of religion, and you're a very good lawyer. You're very good at what you do. You've got a lot of serious life experience. But I think what the world needs now is more of this. They need more of your podcast.
I hope so.
Because we just, we've gotten to a point where everything, and not that I get it. We've got a mental health crisis like nobody's business in this country. We have got some serious issues. We've got,
well, we actually talked about this on the first episode, how, if somebody tells you, I don't think there's anything that you cannot laugh at, and there shouldn't be anything that you're not allowed to laugh at, because if somebody tells you that topic is too serious, or that person's too important, or that whatever that is that they tell you can't laugh at, that has power over you.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a good point. And
that's been the role of comedy.
Well,
throughout history, it's to sort of poke holes in some of those things.
It is.
Say, hey, you're not that big a deal.
Look at some of these comedians who have come under fire.
That's what we're going to talk. That's segment 2 on the show today.
Okay.
Is the death of
Because I'm just sitting here thinking of some of the greats, and I'll save who some of my favorites are that wouldn't be able to make it in today's society. And I'm like, there's something very wrong with that. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror and make fun of yourself, wow, something's gone really wrong.
It's totally fine to take, your work seriously, to take your life seriously. But if you start taking yourself too seriously,
yeah. And I think, unfortunately, we do have a society where, and not everybody, I mean, obviously the crew is excluded from this conversation. They're not part of this. But the people who, they're pounding their chest and they're literally tearing somebody who they agree with 80% of the time. They're ripping that person to shreds. I'm like, wait a second, we need each other, you know, especially like in the political arena. I see that
Reagan
going
said that.
on.
You know, somebody that agrees with you on 9 out of 10 items is not a 10% traitor.
Yeah.
That's an ally.
Exactly. And I think we've just gotten away from that. And, you know, it's interesting. And then I think Andrew's in the waiting room. But I look at this and I'm like, okay, for years, and JP and I have talked about this on the show, and you may have even been on some of these shows where we talked about how, you know, we've really got to have these young kids, and we kept talking about the youth on social media. Oh, and these young kids on social media, and they put inappropriate things out there, which I'm not saying they still don't. That's not the case. But we always were talking about how bullying became a 24/7 thing.
Right.
When social media appeared, because then it's not like at 3:30, oh, thank God I don't have to be around the person who bullies me anymore. Now that person and all the people who follow them are bullying me while I'm at home, while I'm trying to, you know, relax or do my homework or eat dinner with my family or whatever the case is. But what I'm seeing the adults who've gotten just as bad as the kids. I mean, are you seeing, you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just, I
think part of it is
I just don't get it.
You got a lot of moms and dads who are living vicariously through their own kids. Oh. And trying to maybe have what they didn't have when they were that age, whether it's popularity or whatever. And I don't know if it makes them feel young again or whatever, but you know what? Like, I remember having this conversation with my daughters when they were very young, because now when they're real little, like the ultimate like mic drop is, well, you're not my friend.
Yeah.
You know,
right. You're not my friend anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. And I can't remember if one of them said that to me because they weren't happy about something. And I made it very clear. I was like, you're right. I'm not your friend.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm your father.
Yep.
You're not old enough to be my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe someday we will be friends.
I hope we are someday.
I'm your father and you're my child.
Yep.
It's not my job to be your friend.
I've had that.
It's much more important.
I've had that same
for me to be
conversation.
Your father. And there are way too many people trying to be friends with their kids.
And it's kind of jarring because they're like, yeah, if you're trying to be your kid's buddy, and even when your kids, like, you know, in their older high school years, there's still stuff you've just got to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, I know this seems like it's not fair.
It is what it is.
And it sucks and everything, but hey, I'm 54. I've got some years of experience on you. That's not happening.
Yeah.
You know, and it is tougher to do that than to say, oh, sure, that's okay, whatever.
And it's much tougher to do that if you've spent the previous 15 years being friends.
Yep.
And now you want to say, oh, well, I'm the authority figure.
Let me tell you.
Good luck.
You can't. And as a matter of fact, my dad's on watching right now, and my stepmom, I hope her procedure's going well this morning. Tell Liz we love her. But my dad gave me some of the best advice I received before I was getting ready. I was living with him, getting ready to go to my first day of teaching at Plano East Senior High. And I'm, you know, just graduated from college, so I'm only a handful of years older than these kids.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm very close to their age. And he said, you know, kid, he said, make sure you start off strict and stern. Make sure you've got your rules down pat. Right. He said, you can always ease up and be the nicer teacher. He said, but you can never come in and set those boundaries again.
Yep.
It was fantastic advice. You know, I was a special education teacher, and then I ended up also being the drill team coach, one of the drill team coaches at Plano East. And that advice was huge because I really, you know, and I had some young men who would try to ask me to homecoming or ask me out on dates, and well, because I was single when I first started teaching, and so I drew a line in the sand.
You have to, you absolutely. That's the one thing you can get fired for as a teacher. Anymore.
I made it real clear, like, nope.
The teachers unions will protect you for if you're just a bad teacher, you're not any good at the job. But that's one thing.
You're on your own.
Yeah. You know what? Okay,
good luck to you.
Get rid of it. But I was thinking about that when you had the former Miss Texas on.
Yeah.
And she was talking about, like, being a kindergarten teacher, you know, you kind of set you're kind of the standard that gets set and what they compare, you know, that's the beginning of their educational experience. And I was sitting there thinking, like, Also, she's setting the standard for like many years from now. The guys in her class are going to be talking about their first crushes.
And it was a former Miss Texas.
And her kids are going to be saying, well, you know what? My kindergarten teacher was Miss Texas.
Yes.
Top that.
So mic drop.
Yeah, exactly. End of conversation.
That's so true.
You win.
I win. I'm
All
the
right.
winner. That's so funny. I love it. Well, and we're getting ready to have Andrew on. I'm very much looking forward to your show today. Ann Guzman said when we're talking about comedians, and this is so sad but true, she said Johnny Carson today would be dead in the water.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And can you imagine not have had him and his humor to grow up with?
Yeah. And
but now it would be a lawsuit a minute.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not to say that comedians don't occasionally cross the line.
Yep.
And maybe say something that okay, that's a little overboard. But that's how we establish where the line is.
Yeah.
Right? And it's sort of their job to do that. Like they're the ones certain types of comedy, different types, like it's also kind of social commentary,
right,
or satire,
right,
and that's kind of what we should want them to do.
I'm so glad you're talking about this today, because this is this could be a 2-hour show just on that segment.
It's
so
gonna be
definitely
tough to keep it to 30 minutes.
Tune into the snarky parenthetical. Another great show to tune into every Saturday morning is Kilroy's Conversation, and we have Chuck Wright and Andrew White, who are the co-hosts of that show, who do a phenomenal job. And we were so excited on Sunday. I got to be part of their production for a special edition of Kilroy's Conversation. We were out at the, I'm going to mess it up, the Katy Trail and the Katy Ice House with Carry the Load. So good morning, Andrew. How are you?
Good morning. How are you all doing?
We're doing well. Where's your beautiful face? We're only hearing your voice.
I don't know. You should have them.
There you
There we
are.
go.
Hey.
There you
All
are.
right, sorry.
Andrew White of Kilroy's Conversation. We love this guy. Y'all did a great job. Y'all did a great job on the show, the special edition on Sunday. Let's talk about Carry the Load.
Sure.
I told people, like I told the crew earlier this morning, I think I cried 5 different times while I was out there. I was just blown away. And please talk about the 9/11 log, because I didn't know about that, and that about sent me over the edge.
Well, the 9/11, I'll start off with that. It's a log that has been carried for as long as I've been attending the Carry the Load event every year. And the weight of that log is the exact weight of all of the individuals that we lost during the attacks on 9/11. It's a crew of, roughly about, 10 people, I think, carry it. I didn't count, but I mean, it's an extremely heavy log. And they carry that thing a couple hundred yards at a time to kind of, that's who they're carrying. It's a symbol, it's really the symbol of what Carry the Load all about. It's who are you carrying, their memory. And it's a memory of all the individuals that were lost on 9/11 that day. It's a very powerful thing to watch. And you see it every year. And like you said, if that doesn't inspire you, I'm not quite sure what will.
Yeah, I'm quite sure you don't have a heart if that doesn't move you. It was just when I saw it out there, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Because everybody else had, you had folks who had the T-shirts on, or somebody had backpacks on that had, a picture of the person who they were quote unquote carrying. And then when I saw that log, and you're like, oh, and you told me about it, I was blown away, and I said that is one of the most incredible things I have ever seen.
Yeah, it's pretty special. You watch it and you see, and they do that all night long. It's a crew, it's dedication. It's pretty impressive.
It really is.
To put it mildly.
That's amazing. Well, talk to us about how.
But the show was incredible.
Yeah,
to be out there.
That was so great to be there live.
After missing last year because of COVID, to be able to return this year live at the Katy Trail Ice House was just awesome. It was really a great time to be there, and remember why we were there is the most important thing. So, it was really a great thing. I encourage everyone. If you didn't donate, you still, I believe, can go on the website, Carry the Load, and donate. I believe today is the last day to donate. I know they set a record number this year of donations received. So keep up the great work.
Yes.
They're doing good stuff. What they do is they don't just take care of themselves. They take care of other veteran and first responder organizations.
Yes.
And that says quite a bit about who they are, what they do, and it's amazing. I'm really proud to be part of it every year to help them out. And it's a good time. And keep in mind, when I say the word good time, it's not like, hey, party. It's more of, and I talked to several folks who are out there. It's in a lot of cases, the one time a year I get to see some of these folks. And it's refreshing to see, okay, they're doing okay, especially coming after the events of last year, to really be able to reconnect. It's been 2 years I've seen some of the people out there that I've seen, and you re-engage with them, and it's like, wow, time just flew by, because the moment you see them, you give them those big embracing hugs. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
Time well spent.
It really is. And you've got folks out there who are honoring and remembering those that.
So I'm walking around my house right now.
Oh, no worries. No worries. You honor and remember those who are out there. So it is a very you've got a feeling of reverence, I should say, when you're out there.
Yeah.
But then people,
great analogy.
But at the same time, people are celebrating those because a lot of what I was blown away by, and you had some people who were in wheelchairs, and they're part of Carry the Load, because doggone it, they at least came home.
Oh God!
And I was blown away.
Everybody under the sun.
Yeah. So how do people get involved? Because I know we're really going to be pushing this starting about 6 months ahead on y'all's show next year and on our show as well. So how do y'all how can people get involved? What can, like I said, they can donate today financially.
Yes. Number one thing to do to get involved is go onto the website, carrytheload.org, and sign up. And signing up does not mean you have to make a financial contribution. I understand some people can. Some people can't. That's okay.
Right.
The important thing is just getting on there, spreading the word, and then if you are able to, you don't have to walk the full 20 hours. I did it. Very few people do.
Yeah.
But if you can and you're able to, hey, all the power to you.
Yep.
But even if you just walk a little ways, you're there. You're part of it. And let me tell you, your feeling of self and respect for all those out there putting it out on the line, the reason why we have that day, it will really touch you. And you see the memorials all throughout the walk, all the different folks. I love how the fallen officers, they have an incredible tribute to all of the men and women, who put on that shield every day and protect us 24/7 out there. That memorial every year, sadly it grows, but man, it is pretty powerful. I love walking by that and taking a little bit of time to read the stories. That means something to me, is like who this individual was. That is something that to me, it's personal. It's like I never knew them, but I like the fact that I have the opportunity to get to know them just a little bit, just their history of what they did. That's special.
Yeah, I like that. That's so true.
Those to do that.
Yeah, what an amazing experience. Thank you and Chuck Wright so much for bringing this opportunity to the crew, and just thank you for all you do. Let's talk about this weekend. What do y'all have going on your show?
This weekend is going to be a knowledge bomb show. We're going to be talking about, giving you guys just a little teaser. We got 3 big topics.
Right.
Starting off today, just so everyone knows, today was the start of the Battle of Midway, the turning point for America and the Allies in World War II.
Yes.
That is right. Today in history is when the engagement started, and it went all the way through June 6th.
Yep.
On June 6th, everybody knows that is D-Day.
Yep.
We will be talking about the acts and events of D-Day. And to wrap it up on kind of a cool note, most people don't realize this, and we'll explain it. There was a tie to donuts in military history.
Oh, can't wait to hear
Show
that.
tomorrow.
Can't wait to hear
You
that.
find that out.
Especially since these guys, they always bring donuts in studio. I mean, it's so great.
Donuts and military history. What else do you need?
Yeah, that's I'm sold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you, Andrew.
So-
we appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a great show. Everybody tune in from 8 to 9 a.m. every Saturday for Kilroy's Conversation. You guys do great stuff for the veterans community, and we just love y'all, and we're so grateful that you're part of our crew.
Awesome. Well, you all have a great day. Take care now.
You too.
All right.
Thanks, Andrew. Good stuff, and that's a high note to end the show on. Just again,
Anytime you can end the show on donuts.
yeah, carry the load and donuts.
Why not?
Life doesn't get any better than that. Okay, they tune in today right around 5.
Yep.
We'll have notifications that go out. Go and follow. I just did the Snarky Parenthetical, so you can get an alert on the show. Can't wait for the show today. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
the comedian thing alone is. That's a superb topic because, you've had comedians under fire who haven't been able to host major award shows. Not that I watch any of those shows anymore, but, it is what it is. So the Snarky Parenthetical today around 5 o'clock with Lathan Watts. And thank you to Madison for being on the show today and Susan Schuler for getting her on the show. We appreciate y'all. Any parting words of wisdom?
None whatsoever.
Okay. See, that's what you can expect on Lathan's show. It's great. I'm just saying. All right.
I make no promises.
Love y'all. Have a blessed weekend. We'll see you Monday.